Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Rosy y con mi compás Judith, Yaya, Vida Silvestre, formamos parte del equipo de justicia del lenguaje para esta conferencia. Judith.
Rosy, si puedes interpretar consecutivamente por ti misma, no
Of
parece
course.
que Judith tiene su monitor
Técnico.
liste, pero aquí vamos.
Perfecto. Hello.
Sorry, y'all. I was in the interpretation channel. My bad.
Okay, we can start. Vamos a comenzar. Hola, mi nombre es Rosy y junto con mis compas Judith, Yaya, Vida Silvestre, formamos parte del equipo de la justicia del lenguaje para esta conferencia.
Hey, everyone. My name is Rosy, and I'm here together with my comrades, Judith, Yaya, y Vida Silvestre. We form part of the language justice team for this conference.
El equipo de NISOC se ha comprometido a la justicia del lenguaje y esta porción será bilingüe e interpretada del español al inglés y del inglés al español.
NISOG is committed to language justice, and this portion will be bilingual and interpreted from Spanish to English and English to Spanish.
La función de interpretación ya está activada.
The interpretation function has already been activated.
Para acceder a la función desde su computadora, busquen en el globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla y elija la interpretación de idiomas. Luego, seleccione su canal de idiomas.
To access the function from your computer, find the globe on the bottom of your screen and choose language interpretation. Then select your language channel.
Para acceder a la función desde su teléfono o tableta, busque los 3 puntos en la parte inferior de su pantalla y toque más. Luego, interpretación de idiomas. Seleccione su canal de idiomas y toque finalizar. Este último paso es el que activa la función.
To access the function from your phone or tablet, find the 3 dots on the bottom of your screen and select More. The language interpretation, then select your language channel and click Done. This last step is what activates the function.
Toda persona debe elegir su canal de interpretación, a no ser que entiendan ambos idiomas, inglés y español.
Everyone should choose a language channel unless you fully understand English and Spanish.
Si tienen alguna dificultad accediendo a la función de interpretación, por favor mandarle un mensaje a Shia por el chat y le ayudarán a resolverlo.
If you're having any issues with accessing the interpretation function, please send a chat message to Shia and they will support you in resolving any issues.
Ahora vamos a verificar los canales de interpretación. Now we
we'll
are
see if
going
the
to
English-
check.
We're going to check if the English channel is working.
Si me escuchan en español, deben estar escuchando la interpretación en inglés con Judith. Por favor, denos pulgar arriba para dejarnos saber que el canal de inglés está funcionando bien para ustedes. Muy bien. Now, I am speaking in English, but you should be listening to the interpretation in Spanish. If you can hear me in, well, if you can hear Judith in Spanish, please give us thumbs up to let us know that you are able to hear well in the Spanish channel.
¿Me pueden escuchar en el español?
Muy bien.
Can we go back and check on the English channel, please?
If
Yep,
ahora
I'm in
mismo
English channel.
estamos hablando español y deberían de estar escuchando la interpretación en inglés. Ahora mismo, si nos pueden dar pulgar arriba para la interpretación en inglés. Muy bien. Crear espacios multilingües es un esfuerzo colectivo y se hace aún más importante en espacios agrícolas, donde sabemos que la mayoría de las personas que sostienen nuestro sistema alimentario hablan múltiples idiomas. Les invitamos a poner en el chat todos los idiomas presentes acá para nombrar, honrar y reconocer que nuestras comunidades son multilingües. Estas son algunas maneras que todos podemos apoyar el compromiso a la justicia del lenguaje durante esta reunión. Por favor, diga su nombre antes de hablar. La persona escuchando la interpretación no siempre puede darse cuenta cuando el hablante ha cambiado. Sus comentarios en el chat serán traducidos en vivo por Yaya y Vida Silvestre. Si puede, por favor, hagan sus comentarios en inglés y español para que todos podamos accederlos con facilidad. Si no, por favor, haga su comentario en el idioma que prefiere y asegúrese de añadir sus pronombres de género en su nombre. Favor de acordarse de reseleccionar su canal de idioma al regresar de grupos pequeños. De vez en cuando necesitamos comunicarnos con el hablante. Para no interrumpir la reunión, usamos diferentes señales. Por ejemplo, hablen más despacio. Hacemos esta seña, hable más despacio. Hable más fuerte. Usamos esta seña, hable más fuerte. Un hablante a la vez. Un hablante a la vez. A veces necesitamos tomar una pausa. So van a ver esta seña. Respira, pausa o clarifica. Les recordamos de silenciar el micrófono cuando no estén hablando. Finalmente, a los escuchantes del canal de interpretación en español, notarán que usamos terminaciones en E cuando refiriendo a una persona, en vez de la traduccional A-O. Esto no es un error de pronunciación, sino una decisión deliberada para resistir el binario de género y construir la inclusividad de género. Cualquier problema con la interpretación, déjennos saber inmediatamente. Manden un mensaje en el chat. Gracias por su compromiso con la justicia del lenguaje y le pasaremos el micrófono a nuestro facilitador. Gracias.
I guess that was my cue. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's an honor to be sharing this panel with you. And this beautiful afternoon of fall. It's so nice outside. Shia, you want to say something?
Oh, no, I just was waving my hand to say hello.
Oh,
Welcome, everyone.
Hi. Thank you, Shia. And thank you for Shia She's like the brain behind the whole conference. So we are so grateful for the younger people with good brains. And I'm gonna share my screen, and we will start today's presentation. Uh-oh, there it goes. So today we're gonna hear from some of us that do work across language and from different points of view. And the stories are from language keepers, interpreters, worker owners, nonprofit advocates, people around language justice, and we're gonna listen the experiences of transformation, racial equity, immigrant rights, worker rights, as a farmer, as a rancher, the peasant, and a worker of the land. So our first speaker is an honor to present you Grandfather Owl Talks, Leonard Daywriter. The floor is yours, dear grandfather.
I don't know if you heard me from the beginning, but I'll start again. Okay, nitso ko. It's ikokanat simatsinukwa nokatsis kanot. Nisto kaksua sipistoi. Greetings, all my relations. It is good to see you on this beautiful day. It is I, Grandfather Owl Talks. It's an honor to be asked through a little sister of mine about this gathering today, if I could participate as a speaker. And I think the topic that she wanted me, or I'm supposed to talk on, is the connection between the languages and to Mother Earth. And what is so significant about it? First of all, I'm from Southern Alberta. And I'm part of the Blackfoot Confederacy, consisting of 4 different tribes. We're located mostly in Canada, but some in the United States as well. And we're known as the Blackfoot people. I have lived up to now 7 decades. I don't consider myself old, but one of the beauties of how we connect ourselves to Mother Earth. A lot of people forget at times who they are, what their names are, and where they come from. But lucky for me, my existence has spanned over 7 decades. And I am one of the few remaining elders from our Blackfoot Confederacy that retains my true cultural, traditional, and spiritual ways, especially the language. I speak both the old style Blackfoot and the modern Blackfoot, which some of our people know how to speak. But in the recent study, they found out that over 95% of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the total membership, well over 30,000 in these 4 reservations in Western Canada, have lost the language. And only 5% of the people remain, such as I. And out of the 5%, there's only 1% that retain and know the old language. Today, I live alone here at my house. I've got my children, grandchildren that came to live with me. Sometimes it's very lonely for me not to be able to speak to somebody else in my household, my language. Today, I have to speak English because my children, my grandchildren, do not even understand or speak my language. So, just wanted to give you a quick history of that. Now, I will share with you why, to me, and when I was asked, what is our connection with our Blackfoot language to Mother Earth? I'm going to have to bring you back to the beginning of time. Now, some of the stories, I've got a lot of stories that I can spend weeks and weeks sharing with all of you about the many different stories of creations, of our existence, how to become or how to be a human being. That it'll take weeks, not just half an hour like I was allotted, but I'll try and condense everything for you. In the beginning of time, first of all, maybe I should make a note of it. To us people, there is no such thing as time. Time for us has been eternal since our very beginning. When we came into existence in North America, there was no English nor any other language. The only language that we spoke was the one given to us by our Creator, which is the Blackfoot language. Our language is very unique, just like all other languages around the world, where you can say or describe certain things that you want to let people know. I'll just give you an example. As I look out my bedroom window, I will say in my language, hey, translated to English, it means it's a beautiful day. To me, those two translations do not match, even though I tried as best as I could to translate what I just said in my Blackfoot language to the English language. So you're starting to get my explanation of how unique our Blackfoot language is. And our language is not the only one. There's others right around the world that may concur with my thoughts. So back to the beginning of time. For those of you that don't know, as I said, I pointed out 3 things: who we are, what our names are, and where we come from. Those 3 things come from the beginning of time. And along with that is our language. So when we talk about the connection to our way of life, the Blackfoot people, to the land, it's so intimate that I can speak in my language about the things that I want to describe, as to our existence and to our being with Mother Earth. It's so intimate that I cannot translate that properly into English. Give you an example. The reason we call the planet that we live on Mother Earth, again, beginning of time, our creator was the one that made this planet. And in due time, he created all the people who we are today from all over the world. We speak different languages. We come from different cultures. We practice different traditions, spirituality. But if you look at it as a whole, we all come from one place, and that's Creator. Today, we call it in our language, Apistotoki. Apistotoki, translated as best as I can, is creator. But the very word Apistotoki in our language means so much more than just a simple word of creator. To us, to me, when I look outside or even look around in my bedroom, I don't just see the pictures hanging on the wall, the pillows, my shirt, or even the trees outside my home, the land. What I see is life, because Creator is the one that created everything that we have. If you just take a moment and think to yourself, where did everything that we have come from? It only points back to one thing, Creator. Everything that we have today, I'll give you an example. The shirt that I'm wearing came from Mother Earth. Whether it be a plant, a mineral, whatever. It was processed by man to eventually make this shirt that I'm wearing. So you're starting to get the idea where we come from and what we have. We owe everything to Mother Earth. That's why when I talk, especially when I teach, or especially when I pray, the words that I speak in my own language are so intimate that I hold everything I say in reverence to the one who gave us life, our Creator, but it was our Mother Earth, where we come from. In one of the teachings that I like to talk about, we just simply weren't placed here and put on this planet. It had to go through a process. A lot of you might have heard of the teachings that you get from going to school, through Bibles, or through other religious faiths as to how we came to be. But one of the stories that I hold there is how we came to be in existence on this planet. And that was from Creator. After he had created the world, the planet we call Earth, he wanted to put some life in there. And he wanted something in likeness of him. So he took from Mother Earth some dirt, and together with a little bit of water that he also created, he made the shape of the first man. We call him Mudman, our father. And out of Mudman, because Mudman too became lonely to be existing all alone in this big world, our Creator also created the first woman, not out of Mother Earth, but out of the first man, by simply taking one of the ribs out of the first man, and again shaping that rib into the shape of a woman, the form of what we now know as woman. Those two combined, again, you know, like I said, the stories that I have will take days and days for me to really explain them to you, to really share with you the stories. And they're very interesting. So again, trying to shorten the bit, I'm just keeping an eye on my time limit. Where we came from is not necessarily from our mother and our father today as we know it. Our time began a long, long time ago. It's true that we all have a body, that I have a mind and a heart. It was given to us by Mother Earth. But the fourth one that we have, and everybody around the world has, is our spirit that was created a long time ago by our Creator. Now, those four combined makes us who we are today. Our body, our mind, our heart, and our spirit. So, the first man and woman, we chose them to be our parents when we came down from the spirit world. And together, they produced who we are today and who we are right around the world. So, as parents, especially our mothers, we have to respect our mothers. We have to hold them in reverence because in part, it is she that gave us life. But in reality, in our way, and especially the Blackfoot people, our mothers and fathers were just vessels that were used at the beginning of time. Because it is our Mother Earth who gives us life. If you really think about it, we cannot exist today if we do not have the air that we need to breathe. We cannot exist today if we do not have the water that we need to drink, and our body needs it as well. We cannot exist without the warmth of the sun. Okay? And finally, we cannot exist today without Mother Earth. So those four, and I think it's a universal teaching, earth, wind, water, and fire represents what I just described. So we need those things. So when we talk in our language, and sometimes I hear myself when I speak to groups and to other people that are interested, even close family members, they come up to grandfather and they ask, what is this? And I will take the time and then I'll share with them what I know. And sometimes it does take hours and hours just to talk about one simple little thing. So that's the connection that we have with our language and Mother Earth. When we speak about these things, what I just described, the air that we breathe, the land that we walk on, the water that we drink, and the heat that we need, it all comes from our Creator, and especially Mother Earth, who gives us everything that we have. Where do you think all the food in the world comes from? I'll give you for an example. I like to eat meat, and to me, meat comes in the form of through cattle or cows. But in order for the cattle or cow to survive and to grow, it needs to eat. So who do you think gives that cow or that cattle what they need to eat? Mother Earth grows the grass and the different grains out of her body for the cattle or the cow to eat, to grow. And then therefore, at a later date and time, that's how I get my meat, how I eat. So everything that we have goes back to the beginning of the creation of Earth. So we should be very lucky as human beings today. And like I said, I'll give it, I look at world news all the time. I like to find out what's going on in the world. And today, what we are doing is a lot of harm to our Mother Earth. We are hurting her. When I see these things, especially on the TV, different medias, it hurts me as a human being to see somebody disrespect our Mother Earth. I said somebody that could put that into a bigger picture. Some other nations, but combined right around the world. Together, we are all hurting the one who gave us life. And if we keep doing what we're doing now at a rate we're going, we are going to kill our mother. And what are we going to do after that? Today, I sit alone in my house as a, just recently, I'm by myself now. I don't have any power. I don't have any riches. I'm not a politician. The only way that I can help in my own little way is the most powerful thing that I have is my prayers. And especially when I say it in my own language. It's like I said, it's so intimate when I can speak at any time to our Creator. And I ask Him to have pity on all the people that are doing all these different things that are hurting Mother Earth. I'll just give for an example. Down in the rainforests in South America, they're burning all these forests so people can utilize them to gain something that I think every man or woman pursues, which is wealth. And people are doing atrocities right around the world to each other, but mostly to the land. There's developments here where I live in southern Alberta called coal development. It's polluting the air. It's choking our Mother Earth. So, I'm very glad that I was invited. I just wanted to share this little story with all of you as to what our connection, especially our Blackfoot language, is to Mother Earth. Because today, as I said, when I look around, I see everything that was given to us by Mother Earth. And why would we, as human beings, disrespect the mother who has given us everything, just as our own real mothers? In my lifetime, my mom, who passed away not too long ago, I thank her every day when I can. Today, I pray for her and I thank her for giving me the life as you see me today. But I go to a bigger level when I speak with Creator and I thank Mother Earth, the originator of all people, where we come from. And I thank her. So I think I've just about hit my half hour. I think I was told to speak for a half hour. I hope you enjoyed this little, sharing. And I'm very honored to be here to speak to all of you. And just before I close, I just wanted to share this with you. as Blackfoot people, especially me, as an elder, Grandfather Owl Tom, one of the things that was taught to me as I traveled down this road of life, no matter who you are, where you come from, how you pray, we're all human beings. But the moment I laid eyes on you as a grandfather, I have adopted each and every one of you as my child. So from this moment on, every time that I pray, I think, I will think of all of you, and I will pray as hard as I can, as best as I can, for your health, safety, and happiness, and your well-being. So I just wanted to quickly share that with you. So that's why at the beginning of my introduction, I said, Oki Nitsuko, welcome all my relations. So you can see the language that I just used, my Blackfoot language and how. So I have a responsibility as a grandfather to look after all of you out there as best as I can. And the only way that I can help is with my prayers, and also to try and help Mother Earth. I'm doing the best that I can each day. Before the sun rises, I'm at home here in this bedroom, lighting my daily smudge. And when that smoke connects with our Creator, I ask Him to forgive all the things that are happening, that are being caused by the people to hurt our Mother Earth, because we need her. We need her in order for us human beings today and tomorrow and into the future, so we can exist in a good way. Okay, so I thank you very much for taking this time to listen to me. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so back to.
Thank you very much,
Okay,
Grandfather. Thank you very much. We're so honored that you share. And I put in the chat how people can reach out more of your teachings and get your website in Owl Talks California and the Patreon. You can hear stories, hear some songs and prayers from Grandfather Owl Talks. And thank you very much for coming, and we're so honored to have you here sharing to all my relations. That's a hard act to follow. So I'm gonna share a screen and share a little bit about my story, and I'm gonna try to go a little quickly so I can let my co-presenter also present. So hello everyone, my name is Olumpik San, and I, again, I'm here in the lands of the Nipmuc and the Massachusetts Prayan Indians, and modern day call Grafton, Massachusetts, and the United States and the north part of the Americas. But I'm an originary indigenous woman from what is now Guatemala, which ancient times land of the Maya, Xinca, and Garifuna. And I am really excited about presenting today a piece of my life that have been my life's work since the early ages, and heard it from my grandmother, She was removed from her peoples very early, and she was a interpreter for her father that didn't speak Spanish. Spanish is the language of our colonizers, and was imposed to our people, and not everybody in the time of colonization knew how to speak it. So was taught in schools, and from there is my it comes my story from before I was born. I think it was on to me to be a language justice worker. It's part of my work. And very similar to what grandfather was saying, for us, language is the connection that we have with our ancestors. It's the way our spirit talk to them, and it's the way they understand. So when we get colonized and forget or lose our language, it's really hard to communicate with our ancestors. And we, have other ways to do it, but the most direct way for them to listen to us is through language. So it's other ways that we use this connection. We, as Mayan people, use altars, do prayers, as many other indigenous groups. And we also do meditation through song or meditation through prayers. Other connections that I have with my ancestors and through language is the connection with body. A lot of people don't understand sometimes that language is not just spoken, it's other ways that we can communicate. But also our tongues and our vocal cords are part of our body. And in Mayan tradition, words can move mountains. And we truly believe that we had that, and many other traditions also have the same ideas about language. Other things that we can use to connect our bodies to our Mother Earth is, walks in the woods. Other connections that I can talk is the connection with Mother Earth, and we do that through food. But the connection through food is not just eating the food. Us as people believe in our intricate connection with seeds and with the whole process of growing a plant and the process of harvesting with the community and sharing, and then of course eating. But sometimes we forget these things, and part of that is that we use now a language of a colonizer that doesn't have the same ways of life, so tradition to our people. So I really think it's very important to know that part of the language justice is at some point to recover that connection, recover our own language in a best way we can. And part of that is like having the time to sit down with our elders and listen to them and learn from their experience and provide for them for those teachings. So if you want to talk, learn a little bit more of what I do and how I do it, I will post this in the chat. But I just want to leave you with a thought that it's never too late to find your people and your language. And it's really important for becoming who you truly are to find that way of connection to your people. That has been the story of my life, and the affirmations on that. And yeah, I will answer any questions at the end after the presentation of another person that does a lot of language justice work with me in a daily basis. Yeah, I want to introduce to you my friend, my boss, and my coworker. Where is your picture? Jocelyn. Thank you.
Thank you, Olum Piksan. I just want to pause and ask the language justice team if there's anything they need to announce or any reason to take a moment before I start.
Thank you for that, Jocelyn. Creo que nuestro equipo está encendido en este momento. So, todo bien, adelante.
Great. Thank you all. Yeah, well, thanks so much for the invitation to be here. And Olum has asked me to talk a little bit about how I came to be involved with language justice work. So I'll tell you a little bit about my background. And I'll just start out by saying that I do work with Olum in NOFA, the Northeast Organic Farming Association. We're in the Massachusetts chapter. And so we work together every day. I also am a worker owner in Just Words Co-op, which is a language justice co-op. And I am based in present day Northampton, Mass, Pecumtuck and Nipmuc land. And that's sort of mostly where my co-op works. And NOFA is spread out all over the state, and other chapters of NOFA are spread out all over New England. So that's what I'm doing these days. I come from not too far from here, about an hour east of here. And, you know, I have a background of, you know, a similar story of a lot of Europeans in this area. My mother's family, my mother grew up in a bilingual household. Her grandmother spoke Italian. Her parents were native Italian speakers, and so they spoke Italian to her grandmother and English to her. And, you know, as with many families like that, she did not learn Italian growing up. They did not speak to her in Italian, and so she has some level of comprehension but can't speak the language. And similarly on my father's side, his father was a native Hungarian speaker, and you know, his family came to New York and converted. They were Jewish. They converted to Catholicism because that sort of helped them in their neighborhood. And so that was all sort of lost in my father's family as well. And, you know, I almost regret that more. I went on to study Italian in college, and Italian is something you can buy, you know, learn Italian on a tape or on the internet. It's pretty easy. You can take a course in college. Hungarian is a very rare language that is not related to other Indo-European languages. And so it's hard to learn because it's so different from my native language, English, and it's hard to learn because it's just not readily available. And so I really regret not having that language passed down. But, you know, I took Spanish in high school, you know, grew up as a monolingual English speaker, but hearing my grandparents talk to each other in Italian, and my mom's father spoke to her in French because they both took French in school. So I had a lot of languages going on around me, but grew up monolingual, took Spanish in high school, did not become fluent like most high school students, and then took Italian in college and spent time in Italy and thought that that was what I wanted to do in terms of language. But, you know, spending time here in the US, it turns out Italian is generally not the most useful language day to day. And so I kind of relearned a little bit of Spanish while I was traveling in Mexico in 2004. but not enough to become fluent. And then I was working at a birth center in El Paso on the border also in 2004. And I was accepted there as an intern without even being asked, I think, if I spoke any Spanish. And 90% of the women giving birth there were fairly monolingual Spanish speakers. And so there was no language requirement for at least the interns. I don't know about the employees, and there were no interpreters there. And so we were given a sheet of paper that had the basic things that we had to say. And we either said them in English or tried to say them in Spanish. And some people had even less background than I did. And I remember being in many situations, you know, where somebody was in labor and an English speaker was looking at a piece of paper and saying, respire, respire, instead of respire, breathe. And it was so awkward. I mean, I understood enough Spanish to know that that was really awkward. And it was really unethical. I mean, there were a lot of really unethical things going on. There were, you know, language related and otherwise. And so, you know, during my time there, I decided I needed to kind of brush up on as much Spanish as possible. And then when I came home, I was living in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I started studying Spanish more seriously. And I ended up going on to get a master's degree in translation at UMass in 2016. But this experience working at the birth center really impacted me. And as I talked to, you know, friends and even strangers around Worcester, I found that people were having the same experience here in Massachusetts. And, you know, I'm thinking about this, even folks who are bilingual, you know, during an event like giving birth, it's not a time when you think very well in your second language. And I'm thinking about that right now because as somebody who is at this point reasonably bilingual, I forgot to translate my comment in the chat. I wrote something in the chat in English and I'm nervous because here I am in front of all of you. And so my focus is not there. And, you know, similarly with my slideshow, I forgot to translate my slides. I know I should have translated my slides, but I was nervous. And so when you're in a medical situation, you know, even if you're very bilingual, you sometimes revert back to your mother tongue. And so the fact that there were, and I think labor and birth is a situation where there often is a shortage of interpreters because it can happen at any time. It's not like you have a scheduled appointment where you show up at 3 o'clock and the interpreter is scheduled there at 3 o'clock. You might go into labor at 3 o'clock in the morning and there you are. And, you know, so it turns out it frequently happens. If you ask a hospital administrator, they will not say that this happens frequently, but if you ask people who've given birth who needed interpreters, you will find out that it frequently happens that there's not an interpreter in the right place at the right time. So I sort of,
Jocelyn,
yeah.
can you slow down for
Sorry, yes,
interpret? That's okay.
yes, thank you. So yeah, so I started teaching workshops for nurses and other medical professionals to speak Spanish on their job. And that's a really controversial thing to do because there's this fear that somebody might not be fully bilingual and not fully understand something in a language that's not their language of comfort. But it turns out if you train people, they can learn, just like they learn medically what is safe, they can learn linguistically what is safe. And so somebody who is a beginner, you know, a doctor who is a beginner Spanish speaker can walk into the room and introduce themselves in Spanish, and then they can switch to English, and that's perfectly safe. Or somebody who's sort of an intermediate can say, I'm going to take your blood pressure in Spanish, but then they can rely on the interpreter. So there are different things that people can be trained to do. And so I've done some of that work. I taught Spanish for nurses at UMass, and I've taught Spanish for the nurses here in the Northampton Public Schools and other similar programs. That's a little bit of my background. I'll end pretty soon, but a piece of this journey has led me to becoming involved in a language justice worker co-op, as I mentioned. So this started forming around 2016, and it's been a slow process, but we are now an incorporated worker co-op, and we serve mostly sort of social justice related organizations here in the Valley. And this is a whole nother workshop that we could talk about, but you know, it's a humbling situation to be in, because I have all these ideals about what language justice looks like, and what it comes down to, you know, running a business is that our interpreters are not getting paid as much as they should get paid. I'm doing administrative work for the co-op and I'm not getting paid. And, you know, it's a new business and we don't have the funds, and we're trying to offer a sliding scale, and we're trying to offer affordable services to our clients, who are often, you know, very small nonprofits or community groups, and they often don't have much of a budget for interpretation and translation. And so it's really tricky, and I'm still in the process right now of learning how to create that balance between making the services affordable to those who need it and who don't have a big budget, and also, you know, paying our workers enough and paying myself enough to be sustainable. And I feel like I'm, you know, still learning and still in that process very much. But I'd like to conclude, if I have one more minute, Olum. I'm not sure when I'm supposed to stop.
We almost at the end, but you can finish.
Okay. So I've been on the sort of worker co-op end of that, and also working with NOFA, and I used to work with the Pioneer Valley Worker Center, which is another nonprofit. One thing that I found is that over time, you know, the nonprofit or small organization can work toward building translation and interpretation into their budget. And it's not always something that can happen overnight, but you know, if you build in a little bit one year and a little bit more the next year, it's a habit, just like anything else, and you can work toward it. And then of course, you know, grants and donations can help to subsidize that. So that's something that I'm also working on. So that's where I'm at in that journey, and working with Olum to try and provide interpretation within NOFA.
Thank you, Jocelyn, for sharing. I don't know if I haven't seen any questions in the chat. I'm pretty sure if people have some of those. I love that Whova has the option that we can keep connected for the long term and ask questions and do all that other stuff that we didn't have time for today. But one of the things that I do want to leave in people's minds is that, you know, we need to create more of those spaces. They're multilingual and celebrate each other's languages, capacities at whatever level that is. And yeah, be happy with creating that. So Shia just reminded us that we go to 2:30 because that's when the other plenary, the closing plenary starts. But yeah, I don't know if folks have questions. Having the opportunity of having Grandfather Owl Talks here is beyond my dreams. I want to say thank you to Nicole for making that possible. Yeah. I don't see any questions in the chat, so I mean, we can always end early and be ready for the 2:30 if folks don't want to share anything else. I also really want to give huge thank you to the most amazing. I have been in many bilingual, multilingual conferences, but I have never had such a robust language justice team. I mean, if you don't know, we have 2 interpreters. We have 2 people doing the translations in the chat and in the presentation itself. And then we have 2 monitors that are monitoring that the English and Spanish channel are all having what they need at any given time. So that's a lot of people, a lot of coordination, and behind the scenes, folks have been doing this for 2 or 3 weeks. So I really want to give thanks for the bottom of our hearts, and also thanks to the Farsan New England team and all the folks at Young Farmers. They make the money possible for us to pay the language team.
Ulum, amor, ¿podemos compartir un poquito si hay tiempo?
Sí, eso
Sí.
quiero.
Y muchas gracias por la invitación y por la oportunidad. Sé que hemos estado hablando sobre este espacio tan especial por varias semanas y aquí estamos en este momento. Entonces quiero agradecerle a Jocelyn por compartir su historia, a ti, Ulum, por compartir tu historia, y a abuelo Leonard también por compartir toda su sabiduría y por bendecirnos con toda la belleza y todas las verdades que vienen a nosotros a través de nuestro idioma, que en sí viene a través de la tierra. Entonces le agradezco ese reconocimiento, esa presencia. Y también el poder enraizar nuestro trabajo de justicia del lenguaje en esa sabiduría, en esos conocimientos, porque sabemos que ese trabajo se trata de tanto más allá de lo que es proveer interpretación y proveer la traducción. Esto se trata de crear espacios para poder comunicarnos, para que toda persona pueda expresarse plenamente, porque eso es lo que vamos a necesitar para poder construir. Y eso es lo que estamos haciendo en la construcción del mundo que estamos construyendo activamente en este momento, con esos espacios así, ¿verdad? Este trabajo de justicia lingüística no pasa en un vacío, ¿verdad? Es algo que siempre nos gusta subrayar, es que hay tantos sitios de opresión, ¿verdad? Hay tantas cosas que nos separan, ¿verdad? Que en sí son aperturas, pero que en este contexto del capitalismo, del colonización y todo esto, son sitios de opresión, pero en sí, en verdad, si no quitamos esas vendas de la supremacía blanca, de este que el otro, todas esas porquerías que nos enseñan, estas diferencias son en sí aperturas porque nos dan la oportunidad de entender las cosas de diferentes perspectivas, y sabemos que en el idioma traemos toda nuestra cosmovisión, todos nuestros ancestres, toda nuestra historia en la forma que hablamos y en la forma que nos expresamos. Entonces, crear el espacio donde podemos hacer eso plenamente es nada menos que revolucionario. Entonces nosotros les damos con toda humildad y con todo agradecimiento a todas las personas que vienen antes de nosotros, que hagan posible ese trabajo para que podamos ser compensados de una forma de respetuosa, ¿verdad? Porque sabemos también que nuestros ancestres en este movimiento, que las personas que vienen antes de nosotros haciendo este trabajo de justicia del lenguaje, lo han hecho sin pago. Lo han hecho siempre gratis, lo han hecho por sus padres, por sus tíos en la escuela, en las oficinas de doctores, en el principal's office, ¿verdad? Siempre han hecho este trabajo así, susurrando en una esquina, ¿verdad? A las personas que hablan español así, y no hay ningún tipo de intercambio, ¿verdad? Y eso decimos no más, ¿verdad? Y por eso, por ese trabajo que ellos hicieron, podemos nosotros ahora hacer ese trabajo. Y sabemos que ese trabajo pasa en todo ese contexto, en toda esa historia. Y es un honor poder seguir adelantando esta práctica de crear esos espacios donde nos podemos amar un poquito más profundamente, ¿verdad? Porque el entendernos es lo que hace la fundación de poder amarnos. Y en eso es lo que estamos, ¿verdad? No estamos en nada más de poder querernos. Y para eso hay que entendernos. Y por eso es que les damos gracias a Farsan, a Ulum, a Adriana, a Catalina, a Roberto, a Alice Johnson, ¿verdad? Todas las personas que han creado este espacio para este trabajo. Ahora tenemos a Judith y a Yaya haciendo la traducción en vivo. Tenemos a Rosy y a Judith, perdona, a Judith y a Rosy haciendo la interpretación, y a Vida Silvestre y a Yaya haciendo la traducción en vivo. Y también hemos tenido como co-coordinadores de este espacio a Michelle, que ha hecho toda la magia cuando se trata de traducir las cosas, hasta en el mismo tiempo, en el mismo tech check, ¿verdad? Todas las traducciones, todo lo que se trata de co-coordinar, lo hemos hecho con el apoyo de Michelle. Entonces queremos darle la palabra a ella si quiere decir algo en este momento.
Seremain, Wendelin. Seremain es gracias en garífuna, que es mi lengua ancestral. Y una frase que me recuerda lo que hemos hablado acá hoy es Aubun Amurunu, que significa yo por ti y tú por mí. Y ese es un recordatorio de que esta es una relación, es mutua y no existe solo yo y solo tú, todos estamos conectados con nosotros mismos, con otros, con la tierra, con el cielo, los cosmos. Y también resaltar la lucha y el trabajo y el amor que viene de nuestros compas indígenas con el trabajo de, voy a decirlo en inglés porque no sé ahorita la traducción, language revival, language revitalization. Y no se trata, o sea, hay esa noción de que muchas de nuestras lenguas indígenas ya no existen, pero no es verdad. Como habló abuelo Leonard, están acá, están presentes. Y no solo somos historia, somos aquí el presente y somos el futuro. Y ese es el recordatorio también de por qué hacemos este trabajo, que en este contexto estamos con dos idiomas colonizadores, inglés y español, pero en nuestros corazones, en nuestros cosmos, en nuestras mentes, están nuestras lenguas indígenas, están nuestras lenguas negras, y muchos no tenemos acceso a esas lenguas, a esos idiomas, pero como dijiste, Julum, no es solo lo que se habla, sino viene en nuestros sueños, viene en nuestro físico, cómo nos miramos. Yo pienso mucho en mi conexión con garífuna y como desde pequeña sentía como que había un desconecte, algo no sabía cómo decir cosas, pero ahora me doy cuenta, ya un poco más grande, que es que no tenía acceso a mi idioma, entonces por eso no sabía cómo verbalizar lo que sentía. Entonces por eso le damos gracias acá a abuelo Leonard por estar acá, a nuestros abuelos en estas luchas, y siempre seguir haciendo esto. No, como dije en otra plática, el trabajo no para acá, no vive solo en este contenedor, sino que sigue en nuestros hogares, internamente, cuando nos vamos a dormir, tal vez aprendiendo cómo decir gracias a creadores en nuestras lenguas, aunque no tengamos acceso, con un gesto, abrazando, dando gracias al suelo, lo que sea. Y también gracias a las personas a los conspiradores que están apoyando esto también, ya sea por dinero, pagándonos por el trabajo, dando espacios, creando espacios para que esto se haga posible. Y también teniendo esas conversaciones difíciles con familiares que tal vez no piensen igual o no lo vean de esa manera. Ese es el trabajo que todos tenemos que hacer. Y le damos las gracias por esta oportunidad. Y eso es todo.
Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, Wendelin, for having the courage to come at the best time to wrap up this conversation. Gracias, compañeras. Las queremos mucho. Un gran corazón para ustedes. Y vi en el chat un par de cosas, de comentarios. Karen dijo, todos necesitamos estas personas talentosas para tan necesaria comunicación a lo largo de todo el planeta para ayudar a sanar a nuestra nación, para nuestro continente y el hemisferio. Nuestro planeta depende de ello. Y ya. Puso aquí. Como parte de la comunidad de justicia del lenguaje, cómo podemos generar recursos para interpretación, traducción y advocacia y entrenamiento sin que sea generado por organizaciones. En otras palabras, podemos crear algunos proyectos que ya existen con fondos que ellos mismos generen recursos de justicia del lenguaje. Me imagino como ser suficientes. ¿Cuáles son nuestros pensamientos en esto? Sí, hay varias organizaciones de base que tienen pocos recursos, como dijo Jocelyn. Algunas personas que no tienen el estado legal para trabajar, que es un problema bastante grande. Y todavía sí es importante que ellos tengan trabajo. Y si es esto posible. Gracias por la pregunta. Yo creo que Jocelyn y yo hemos tenido bastante estas conversaciones con toda la gente. Mi cooperativa está hecha como una cooperativa y cualquier persona se puede adherir, pero sí, a veces es difícil conseguir fondos que estén libres de las ataduras del dinero, pero estamos dispuestos a tener compañeras y apoyar compañeros en este asunto internamente. Y creo que hay algunas formas de crear negocios como el LLC, que ellos son dueños, trabajadores, y entonces sí pueden ser pagados sin tener papeles legales. Pero podemos dar más información fuera de línea y me parece excelente la pregunta. No sé si alguien más.
I'm happy to share what we do, if you'd like. I just want to add, this is Jocelyn, and the picture you see is my phone. I'm talking on my phone, but my video is on my computer, sorry. Yeah, so I think that's a really tricky question in terms of, paying folks who may not have papers, and that's something I'm happy to talk about. I can put my contact info in the chat here in a minute, and I'd be happy to talk with anybody about that piece of it offline. And then the other piece is, I just want to say that because of our sliding scale, we are working toward being able to provide more affordable services, and it really makes a difference. We have a couple of clients that that pay like $120 to $250 an hour, and when we have that kind of upper end of the sliding scale, it makes it possible for us to offer pro bono or $35 an hour rates for folks who could benefit from that. And so it really makes a difference to have a variety of clients. We work with like the universities that can pay more and other clients who can pay more, and that really helps. That's another controversial thing. But the goal that we're working toward is getting to be able to pay our interpreters somewhere in the middle and, take fees from all ends of the spectrum.
Jocelyn, can you add in the chat the website for
Yeah.
your co-op, and I will add the website for ours. And you guys are welcome to support Leonard Patreon. It's already a bunch of stories in there. I always wait at the end of the week or at the end of the month when he puts something in there. They're invaluable teachings.
Ulum,
Yes,
could I share something really quickly?
you can share anything you want.
First of all, I just want to really thank Grandfather Leonard for coming and being a part of this. I so appreciate everything he brings to the table, because in my life, I grew up. I was born in Boston. English is my first language, but I always searched in English for more words to say what I wanted to say and needed to say, and always struggled with that. And when I got to finally go and spend time in the presence of people like Leonard, who speak their language and walk their ways and share themselves so freely in their genuine old ways of how to be human beings, and hear that language, even though I don't understand that language, it just rang a bell for me that was the thing I was searching for, that English couldn't provide me, was a genuineness of how to be that I got from that hearing and that sharing. And so while we're doing all of this work, and all of this work is beautiful and wonderful and hard and taxing and draining, don't forget your spirits in that. And that's the piece that English and Spanish and those colonizer languages have left out of it, is that connection to your spirit and connection to refeeding you and to sharing just in the words and the hearing of it, your spirit connected to everyone else's spirit, and then you can refill yourself and sustain yourself and stabilize yourself. It's a thing that we don't talk about a lot, is how our spirits are doing when you're doing all this other work, and how you sustain your spirit. And that language connection to the land, working with the land and everything else, I didn't even understand how vitally important it is that we somehow find ways to get back to that. Because in the language that Leonard speaks, like he said, he doesn't see it as things, he sees it as life. that everything around him, even the things that we see as not living, actually are life, because they all come from the mother. And so I just wanted to kind of share that in the process of doing this work in the physical, in the flesh, don't forget your spirit. And don't forget to feed it in those ways you need to feed it. Because we don't have that language that's built in to bring us, to sustain us. It's not built into English like that. It's not built into Spanish like that. And so wherever you can go, maybe you need to go to music, maybe you need to go to the places that feed your spirit. Don't forget that, because that's a blessing that Leonard has in his life naturally that we've lost touch with. He said 95% of the members of the Blackfoot Confederacy don't speak it anymore. And that's a loss. And we have Indigenous people around the world who have that same kind of connection to their land and their language, and that is going away. And we need to remember that. So with that, I say thank you.
Okay, I think it's time to wrap up. And I really appreciate your time, Nicole, and all the efforts that you've made for make this possible. And yeah, this is not the end of this presentation. It's the beginning of our relationship with everyone. And yeah, remember, as much as you can, support the people doing whatever way language justice is done, what that means for that person. Just not dismiss it. And thank you for this. And I see you at the closing plenary. You guys are all invited, and have a good afternoon.